All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Have not posted in a while. That's because I have been traveling. Right now. I'm not in Eretz Yisrael. I am in New York. I've been here for the last 2-3 weeks visiting my parents. Heading back to Eretz Yisrael soon. So I just wanted to make a little video about Uman Rosh Hashanah. Obviously, we're going to keep on talking about stories about Uman, like we were doing the last few videos, and the greatness of going to Uman Rosh Hashanah and the greatness of the Tzion of Rebbe Nachman. But I just wanted to give a little update about the actual situation regarding borders and regarding quarantines and regarding vaccinations and regarding all these things. So right now, as today, it is 9:55 a.m. in New York, August 3rd. Right now, as of today, the kibbutz is on. Ukraine is open. They are changing the rules tomorrow, from tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 4th, going into the 5th. The rules will be changing to enter the Ukraine, which is as follows. Up until now, all you needed to do, whether you were vaccinated or not vaccinated, all you needed to do was just present a negative PCR test at the border and have Ukrainian health insurance, and you can go in. Starting tomorrow night, you will need to be vaccinated to enter Ukraine with 2 shots of the accepted vaccinations by the World Health Organization. And for U.S. citizens, that means presenting your CDC vaccination card. For Israelis, that means presenting your 2-dot, whatever the vaccination certificate that we have over there. If you are not vaccinated, then you will need to present a negative PCR test upon arrival and then take another test in the airport there, install an app, just like we were talking about all last year. I'll post a link to the exact rules below in the description. I'm trying to look at the camera. I don't even know where I'm looking anymore. But anyway, yeah. And so that you will, basically by doing that, you will be able to avoid any quarantine, because they want to put people in quarantine because of this new variant that is spreading across the world. So that is basically what's going on. So anybody is welcome to enter the Ukraine. It's just a little bit different if you're vaccinated or you're not vaccinated. Besides that, Israel today changed some rules as well. If you're traveling from Israel, whether you're an American citizen, if you're a student there, or if you're an Israeli citizen, if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, it was first reported this Friday. Let me just make this camera. Is that better? I don't even know. It was first reported that it will start this Friday, but now it's being reported that it will start next week on Wednesday, that people returning to Israel from Ukraine and many other countries, but specifically we're talking about Uman Rosh Hashanah, will have to go into quarantine for 1 week, I believe. And you'll have to be tested to get out of that thing. So that's another slight issue for people traveling to Uman. And hopefully, we know that there's already a lot of people already there, because they're afraid that Israel is going to close the airport and close the borders and prevent Breslovs from leaving. And there's talk about a lockdown in Tishrei by the Chagim and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. So a lot of people are already in Uman. Around 4,000 people are already there, and more people are coming every single day. So let's hope that things stay open and that everything is going to remain basically easy for people to go in and out. Just being able to get tested and get out of quarantine, and hopefully Eretz Yisrael will also lighten the rules so that when we're coming back, we won't have to go into crazy quarantine here or whatever there, because I'm not there right now, so I'm saying here. But anyway, that's what's going on. That's the update. So keep davening that everything is going to go smooth, and that the kibbutz will happen. And right now, it's just looking like that it's going to be okay. You know, we just have to do a few things. Oh, and if you're vaccinated and if you're not vaccinated, either way, entering Ukraine, you need Ukrainian health insurance that you can get on the website Visit Ukraine. I'll post a link there. It's just easy, really, really cheap. Buy it for a few days, obviously, however long you need it for. And that's basically what's going on. So now we are going to read some stuff that we were reading a few weeks ago from a kuntress called Rosh Hashanah Shali. It's basically all different sources in Breslov from different svarim about Uman Rosh Hashanah and the greatness of it, and what Rebbe Nachman said about it, and what Rebbe Nachman said about it, all these things. So we're going to do a part of it now. I'm going to skip ahead from where we were last time. We're going to start a new section called the Kedushas Tzion, which is the holiness of the Tzion, the actual holiness of Rebbe Nachman's kever, and we're going to read some parts about it. So I'm going to post a link to the description, in the description, of where you could follow along in this kuntras. It's on page 56 of 84 in the PDF, and we're going to start with Aleph, which is number 1. It says over here, it says that when Rebbe Nachman was in Uman, he heard from his house people in the cemetery screaming and praying on the graves of their parents or relatives or whatever it was, right? Because people, they go to Kfarim and they daven and scream and cry. They're sad. So one time Rebbe Nachman heard a woman that she was screaming and crying on the grave of her father, in a very, very sad voice. And Rebbe Nachman's daughter was standing next to him. And he said to her, this is a very, very famous piece in Sikh Saran, I believe. He said to her, this woman is screaming with a lot of kavana, and she has the right intention, but her father is not there at all. He said, Rebbe Nachman says that when you go to the kfarim of your parents, you should actually say to the other people that are buried around them, the other dead people that are buried around them, that you should tell them that they should go and tell your father or mother or whatever, or your relative or whatever, that they're here, that basically that they came to pray, and then what's it called? Ki bivade loy kol ameis nistachim mimakom krosim mimakom shenishradim ki harbe shurim al kivram. And then, because Rebbe Nachman says that not every single person who dies is completely removed spiritually from their kfarim, and there's still some spirituality of them there, whatever that means, and they're there and they can hear you. So it's good that if you want to go to your parents' graves or someone's graves, you tell the people that are buried around them that you're there, and then they'll go tell the people that you want to speak to. This is a pretty crazy idea, pretty intense things. But Rebbe Nachman says, but by the tzaddik, you don't have to worry about this at all, that he's not there, because the death of a tzaddik is like somebody going from one room to the next room over, right? And he said to his daughter, he said, just like basically he was giving an example to his daughter. He said, just like I'm right now in this room, and if I go out of this room and I go to the next room, right, and I close the door, right, and if you come to the door and you knock on the door and you say, Father, Father, I'm going to be able to hear you. Of course I'll be able to hear you, right? So he says that, right? So when you go to the grave of a tzaddik, it's just like talking, like there's just like a door between you and the tzaddik, and you can talk, and the tzaddik can hear you, right? So and he said this over a few times, just to show how great it is to come to the Tzion, that Rebbe Nachman will be able to hear your words and help with whatever possible he can. Regarding what that means exactly, obviously we don't ask. There's a whole machlokes of going to Kfarim, and you don't ask Rebbe Nachman to give you money, or you don't ask Rebbe Nachman to give you a shidduch. You talk to Rebbe Nachman. You can talk to him about certain things, and he'll be a me'alatz yosher for you in Shemaim. But you don't ask him specifically, like davening to him. You have to daven only to Hashem, but you're allowed to talk to him. Just like you were talking to a real life Rebbe, you could talk to Rebbe Nachman in his kever too. Let's keep on going down over here. We're going to keep on going over here. It says over here. It says, Peace Ches. This is from, I think, Siach Sarfi Kodesh. It says, this should be known for generations that there are three things that are Yisoid, like three main things that Rebbe Nachman left over for his Hasidim to do, that we understand from the words of Rav Nassim. One is gathering on Rosh Hashanah, which obviously this includes saying Tikkun Klali on the Rebbe's kever and being by the Rebbe's kever. Beis is being Isaac in printing Rebbe Nachman's Svarim, and Gimel is Hadlakas Ner Tamid al Tzion Kodesh, that there should always be a Ner Tamid, a lit candle wick on Rebbe Nachman's kever. Uman Rosh Hashanah. A second, let's keep on going over here. Whoa. It says that the Breslov Chassidim say that these 10 Psalms of Tehillim that we call the Tikkun Klali, these 10 Kapitlach of Tehillim that Rebbe Nachman revealed to us, they are the concept of the 10 koichos that the bettler, the beggar, that didn't have hands. In the story of the 7 beggars, there's different beggars. There's 7 beggars, 6 beggars. Actually, the 7th one, I don't remember if he appears or not. The 6th, one of the beggars doesn't have hands. And what's it called? And he was able to take out the 10 types of arrows that hit the princess. This is a whole crazy story, and that's basically the same koichus that you have by saying Tikkun Klali, that you could take out these 10 arrows, so the 10 arrows of Tumah, all these different things. So that's something big. Saying Tikkun Klali, just another thing. Okay, let's see over here. It says that the hishtapchus and nefesh that we saw by the people who were serving Hashem and Uman back in the day, especially when they were by the Tzion, we can't even imagine what was going on with them. There was crying, and there was tears, and they would just sit there for hours and daven and things like that, just from the amount of service that they had. It says that Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter, who was a big Breslov Chassid in Poland, he told over to Rabbi Mordechai Yagelnik that his nature as a person, before he came to Uman, that he didn't know how to cry, like at all. Even if he was having a lot of Osiris or anything like that, he still didn't know how to cry. But from the moment that he started coming to the Tzion of Rebbe Nachman, something changed inside of him, and the gates of tears opened up. And V'sipur Rabbi, and this guy, Rabbi Mordechai Yagelnik Zal, tells over that he saw Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter during Slichus, how tears just fall from his eyes until the pages of the Slichus were mamish soaking wet from the tears. Hashem Yikun Damav, because he was killed in the Holocaust. Let's see over here. What's this story over here? Rabbi Yosef Cohen Zal, who was the brother of Rabbi Aaron Cohen, the Rosh Yeshiva of Hebron. Okay, let's see. He was in Moscow. When he was in Moscow back in the day, he was trying to get a visa, to get a passport so that he could come to Eretz Yisrael. And then he was able to finally get a passport, but then he had to get a visa. But the visa came already after the passport expired. So now it would take him a lot of time, and he didn't know what to do. And he was very, very brokenhearted. So he said, so Rabbi Yitzchak Bender said to him, I guess they all knew each other, he says, come with me to Uman, because I'm going there for Shabbos. Because Rabbi Yitzchak Bender had to leave Uman for a certain period of time, because they were looking for him over there, the Russian authorities. And Rabbi Yosef Cohen said to him, what do I need to do in Uman? Like, what's going on? I'm a Cohen. So Rabbi Yitzchak Bender said to him, so you'll stand outside the Tzion, and you could ask for anything there. And he left. But when Rabbi Yitzchak got to the train station, okay, so when they got to the train station, I think they met there, and they went to Uman together, and he stood outside the Tzion, in the place where the Kohanim would stand, and he told Rabbi Yitzchak afterwards, She'eni Yodea Perish Davar, he doesn't understand what happened to him, because from his nature, he never cried, and he never knew of tears when he was davening. But when I stood by the Tzion, Niftechu Loi Mayan Hadmois, I had a spring of tears come to me. And this was a great wonder. And afterwards, when he returned to Moscow to renew his passport, right? They let him go to Eretz Yisrael right away, and he started coming close to Breslov later on in his life. Let's see what else we got over here. I'm trying to find some stories over here. Oh. Diber Pam, they were one time speaking about the inyan of how you have to be careful in the kedushas of the Tzion of Rebbe Nachman. And they said, Lanu hay Rabbi Miskavan al Rabbi Meir le Blecher. Rabbi Meir le Blecher was I don't know who he's talking about over here, but he was a very holy yid. I think in Breslov too, obviously. He was noig to prepare himself in Torah and Tefillah for 3 days before going to Rebbe Nachman's kever. Today, Nebuch, it says, V'hifter v'amar b'tzar. Today we already go to the Tzion even without going to the mikveh. So we have to learn how to be careful when going to the Tzion, being holy in there and being, treating it with proper respect. So it's definitely important to go to the mikveh before going to the Tzion. Bimei, in the days of Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner, there was in the city of Bafolia, there was one of the Breslov Hasidim, a tzaddik, his name was Rabbi Yisrael Leib, who was the father of Rabbi Asher Bafoler. Okay, these are old Breslov Hasidim. Basic Nasoi, when he got old, he wanted to move to Uman so that he could be close to the Klois, so that he would be able to also be close to Tzion, obviously, and be able to go to the Tzion and all that, right? Because he would spend all the time going to visit the Tzion anyway. So let me move to Uman. And also during the day after Tula, he didn't taste anything, and he would stay in the Tzion for 4 or 5 hours. So now, what would be? So he was thinking to himself, like, I go to the Tzion a lot when I go visit Uman, so let me at least, but if I could live in Uman by the Klois. But Rabbi Nachman Tulchener did not like this for reasons known to him. And Rabbi Nachman Tulchener, even though Rabbi Nachman Tulchener was not masking to this, but he still went and did it anyway. And I think that's, I'm not sure why, but he still wasn't happy about this. I think there's a thing back then, like people who lived in Uman, but if you came to visit, they didn't want everybody to live in Uman. They only wanted you to be at Tzion for a certain amount of time because you couldn't stay there forever, and they wanted people to not stay all the time. I think it was like 2 weeks or something. That was like the maximum. But I'm not sure why he didn't want him. This guy was an old guy. He seemed like a tzaddik. Interesting story. It's also, this is brought down in Avana Barzel, so we'll look that up. Sefer Koich V'or. This is what I was saying. One time Rav Levi Tzek Bender came to Uman on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and he spent 2 weeks there, and he wanted to spend more time there for a third week, because then it was going to be Lag B'Omer. But Rav Avram, who's Rav Avram Bar Nachman maybe? No, Avram Nachman wasn't around then. I'm going to let Rabbi Avram. Who's Rabbi Avram? No. Rabbi Avram. Rav Avram Bar Nachman, I guess, okay. It is Rav Avram Bar Nachman. He told to him, no, go back to your house. And don't listen to the people who say you should stay there. Go back to your house. And when you go back to your house and you want to go back to Tzion, and then come back. Because he would, ki hikbid l'kaim tzivay shel aviv Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner, that he was machbid to be mekayim the tzivay of his father, Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner, that you can't give loy nasan l'sarim l'mashmat delicious v'um yes mishin suas pretzivus. You shouldn't spend more than 2 weeks in Uman straight, because then you will, staying there, the kedushas of the Tzion will become weakened in your eyes. So only certain people were allowed to stay, and most people, I guess, they said, eventually Rabbi Levi Tzek Bender lived there, and a lot of people, but I guess when you were just visiting, they didn't want you to stay for more than 2 weeks. what's it called? Pamachas. Let's see. This is going to be okay. We'll read this story, and then I think that we'll stop over here for today. Pamachas. One time, a man and a woman came to Rebbe Nachman with the story that they asked Rebbe Nachman to daven for them that they should have children because they didn't have any children. And Rebbe Nachman said to them, "Atim tivoshu atzli ben yom v'layla." You will have a Yeshua by me, whether it's day or night. I'm not sure what that means. And this man lived in a kfar echud. He lived in a small village next to Uman. Pamachas, after Rebbe Nachman died, him and his wife, to Uman, so that she can go to the mikveh, women's mikveh. I guess he didn't have a mikveh in that little village. And B'bein Hashmasos, by the time his wife was getting ready to go to the mikveh, whatever. Hold on 1 second, we gotta see what's going on at the door. So as his wife was getting ready to go to the mikveh, he went to the Tzion, and he cried, and they had a son, and they called him Nachman on the name of Rebbe Nachman. And when the son Nachman grew up, there was a gezerah that they were going to take all the Jewish kids to the army, and this Bacher Nachman, he had to go there because he was already old enough to go to the army. And so what did he do? So before he went to go, for his appointment, whatever, to be taken to the army for his checkup or whatever it was, he went to the Tzion, and he cried there, and he told afterwards to his mother and his father that he dreamed that avrech, a person, came to him, and he had a certain look. This is how he looked. His color hair was this and everything, and his parents realized that this was Rebbe Nachman. V'amar loi, and V'amar loi, Shezet Tzuras Rabbeinu. V'amar loi, and Rabbi Nachman said to him in the dream that you are called in my dream, that you are called in my name, and therefore you will not go next to them in the army. And he had a nes that he had saras all over his body, upatru me'avodas hatzava, and they took him out from the army. He didn't have to go to the army, and then he got healthy and everything was good. And that is what we're going to do today. So let's keep davening that everything should be good. We're still 34 days to Rosh Hashanah. Let's keep praying that good things will happen and everything will stay smooth. Thank you, Hashem. Chaim.